just letting them know we're here was, I think, the major thing, because without having stuff on YouTube to explain that we really don't have the issues that a lot of other parts of Florida have, and that we're growing and thriving here no matter the pandemic or whatever, that really helped people to know that's where they should go ahead and invest. So yeah, without the YouTube channel and stuff, they probably wouldn't have. They probably would have picked Lakeland, or maybe they would have gone straight to a coast, because Florida's known for their coast. So, I think it did help a lot with that.
In today's episode, I'm going to be speaking with Andrea Proeber, owner of Great Expectations Realty, based out of Ocala, Florida. Andrea started things a little bit different than most property management companies, in the sense that she started to focus on YouTube and ended up growing her business primarily through YouTube and social media marketing. She shares exactly what she's done up until this point to grow her business to over 250 doors. She has a lot of great tips that you can walk away with and start to implement on your own property management company. So let's get straight to the interview so you can start to learn from Andrea.
I actually got started in property management almost immediately after getting my real estate license, because it was just at the beginning of the recession. So back in 2007, late 2007 is when I really got started in it. And I couldn't understand why I had this shiny new license and the brokerages were not really that interested in talking to me. So I didn't understand at that time how bad it was going to be. And but one of the places that was very excited to have me, was a property management company. And I later learned that's because many of the houses were in foreclosure and there's a lot of burnout in the industry. But I actually, I did my time, paid my dues, and I was there for about 5 years, and I learned so much. So grateful, very grateful for everything that I was able to do there.
Got it. And how did you end up starting your company now?
Well, as grateful as I was working there for the 5 years, they had a company policy that the property managers were not able to do real estate sales. And I had a lot of investors that I kept referring over to the real estate agents, but they didn't really understand their needs or how to help them. And so it just kind of, even though we had people coming in wanting to do like 1031 exchanges, and they were wanting to buy, and it was like the only people out there able to buy because they had cash, the agents didn't really know how to help them. So they weren't. So they were just dropping the ball. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to grow. I'm going to have to learn to do that side of it. And then I can go ahead and work with these people myself. So I went to a different brokerage and learned sales. I actually got a real estate coach that was amazing. And then I started a team, and I had so much business coming in. I kept giving that to the team and all of the sales and leads and whatever, and still doing property management, which also was growing because we had those investors coming in. So then I realized that the brokerage I was at was really not, it wasn't set up for a large team at all. I wasn't really able to grow. There was a lot of inside issues. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go open my own, and then I get to play by my own rules. And I haven't looked back. So really, it's been crazy, but it's been great.
So what year did you end up starting Great Expectations Realty?
January 4th, 2018.
Okay, very nice. So let's take us back to January 4th, 2018. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go out on
Yeah.
my own. I'm gonna start my own thing. I
Yep.
imagine at this point, did you have zero doors? Did you have some clients that came on right
Right.
away? What did that look like?
So I actually did have a pretty good sized portfolio. The original company that I worked for, I had a non-compete with them. So I never contacted any of those customers. I would never sign a non-compete again. And I think they're actually becoming illegal now. But at that time I did. So but the owners chased me down. They were like, some of them even a few years later, they were like, this, it's not going so well with whoever I have now. There's all these issues. Can you please, we don't care where you're at. We just need you. So, I had an assistant. We dealt with it, and she later became a licensed property manager herself, and continued with that portfolio type business. And since then, we've had to grow and adjust and have more property managers. And now we're currently transforming into a departmental based. So
Okay.
it's very exciting. We're still trying to grow and adapt to what the needs of our clients are.
Okay. So how long would you say it took you to get to around your first 100 doors?
That, well, as you know, you'll get 100 doors and then you'll lose doors or you'll get, so it kind of went back and forth for those first few years. But when I realized there was an issue with growth was when I had an opportunity to take on possibly 80 doors all at once. And my property manager at that time groaned and looked like she was about to start crying. And she's like, there is no way we can do this, not with the setup we have. And I realized that our foundation was not there to grow. So, 100 doors really is kind of the max. It maxes out that one person portfolio, especially if you don't have those systems in place. So I had to learn, I had to find a new way to do things. And that's what we've done.
Okay. So obviously you had to turn down that 80 doors. Is that
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because I didn't want it to, sometimes people decide as a business owner, they see that money and they're like, I could do it. But if you don't have the foundation in place, it's actually going to hurt your business a heck of a lot more than if you say, you know what, I just can't do it at this time. I would love to, hit me up in a year or two when I get the rest of this figured out. But if they take on too much, it really, really hurts their reputation and does so much more damage. And I didn't want that to happen to my company. It was my baby. So, gotta
sense?
gotta take care of that.
Were those 80 doors all from one investor?
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
that something that you try to stay away from now? Because I mean, there's obviously risk, right? If you bring on a person that has half of your portfolio and you
Right.
lose that person down the road, that can hurt the business too. What's your take on that? How do you look at that?
So actually, I mean, we did have an investor that had 30 doors with us, and that was 4 months after starting our company. He actually left because, just the transition of going from that company to this one, and just there was a lot of stuff and issues with that. So yeah, we lost 30 doors almost immediately, where we had with the prior brokerage over 100, and most of those went with us. So, we definitely took some hits by making those choices. But I think in the long run, it still is a much, much, much better situation for us as far as growth.
Gotcha. Okay. So once let's say now you're a little bit more established, you put the systems in place so that you can handle the growth. So if there is another big investor that comes by or a bunch of doors
Ready?
knock
We're
on your
ready.
door and are ready to hire you, at that point, what did you start to do to grow? Did you continue to just rely on word of mouth? Was it through advertising? What were your strategies?
Well, we actually got a lot into social media. We had, of course, during that time, we had the pandemic. And so I had some downtime. Of course, property managers were considered necessary to go and still do your jobs and everything. And we really didn't suffer as far as property management at all. We only had two tenants out of over 100 that were late with their payments, but they were already late before that all started. We were very proactive with it. We actually sent out a letter to everyone saying, hey, we don't know how bad this is going to get. We don't know what's going on, but we're right there with you. If you do think that you're going to have an issue, reach out to us. It's better to reach out to us than us having to reach out to you. Just let us know and we're going to work with you. And just taking that approach as just neighbor to neighbor, person to person really helped. So that being said, we also had a lot of downtime. So there was some stuff on the back burner that I really needed to get around to. And so I did. I started really working with the YouTube channel and some of the other social media aspects, and that took off so much and it still continues to grow, and it has brought a lot of investors. Some investors have actually come in to be guests on my YouTube channel and talked about how great it is to work with my company. So I mean, how amazing is that? We would have never reached those investors without the power of social media.
Yeah. So we have some clients that use YouTube, that use podcasts as well. And the feedback we've gotten from them is sometimes they'll get investors that weren't even considering investing in their market, but they found them and they're like, this looks like a good company that I'd like to invest with. Do you have the same type of thing happening for you where it's like people weren't even, Ocala wasn't even on their radar. And all of a sudden they're
Definitely.
like, wait, you know what? Andrea seems like she really knows what she's talking about.
Right. Well, Florida in and of itself is a very landlord-friendly state when compared to some other states that are less so. So when you have properties in those states and you're wanting to get out of that state, maybe the taxes are high or maybe the laws are very tenant and squatter friendly or something like that, you're like, I'm done. So you're considering doing a 1031 exchange. Florida looks pretty good, especially with our fairly low taxes and stuff. But where in Florida? So thankfully, I don't have a beach here. I'm right in the center of the state. So everybody has this fear of hurricanes over here, which granted is legitimate. But we don't have that here. And we are growing like crazy. We have 269 people per week moving to our town. And in the last 4 years, 50,000 people have moved into our county. So we're growing exponentially. So, while that has nothing to do with me, it still is great that other people are identifying that Ocala is an amazing place to live, work, and also invest in. And so just letting them know we're here was, I think, the major thing, because without having stuff on YouTube to explain that we really don't have the issues that a lot of other parts of Florida have, and that we're growing and thriving here no matter the pandemic or whatever, that really helped people to know that's where they should go ahead and invest. So yeah, without the YouTube channel and stuff, they probably wouldn't have. They probably would have picked Lakeland, or maybe they would have gone straight to a coast because Florida is known for their coast. So, I think it did help a lot with that.
That's awesome. With the content that you create, do you have a content schedule? Is it just kind of any questions you see are frequently asked? What's your strategy around that?
Yeah, I'm kind of laughing a little because during the pandemic, I had no idea what I was doing. I absolutely had no idea. So I'm one of those, how hard can it be? My husband hates that sentence at this point in our marriage because it's normally way worse than I ever think it could be. So at the beginning, I actually had a schedule of 5 videos per week. I wanted every single one to be done by 10 a.m. It was posted, whether I had the content ready or available or not. One of these awful videos that I did was me with wet hair because I just come out of the shower. It was like 9:58. I said, here's my neighborhood. And I just started walking around talking about the benefits of my neighborhood and why I liked living there. And that's actually been one of our most popular videos.
Really?
It was truly terrible.
It's you got to start somewhere, right? So
You do. You do.
you,
So
if you
now it's a lot more relaxed. I have at least one video per week that coincides with our Saturday morning 10 a.m. radio show and podcast that we now have.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, if you expect things to be great from day one, you're fooling yourself. The only way you get great is when you
Terrible.
do things over and over and over again, right? So
Right.
especially in property management, it's not like every single property management company is out there on YouTube, right? Or has a podcast. So if you can just get out there, already you're a step above your competitors. So
1000%.
hats off to you for taking that leap of faith and just kind of sticking with it. And obviously it's working. So just it's nice to see another property management company kind of recognize that. So good job on that one.
You.
How long would you say it took you to start getting traction from YouTube and social media? Because
It was,
usually these things don't happen instantaneous, but for you,
it was almost immediate.
really?
It was more, well, I went with a hyper local approach. So because I had recognized that people were starting to move to our area, but there was really nothing on YouTube or anything on the internet to show, where do you get a pizza? Where do what about the schools? What about the crime? What about, there was nothing there. So I actually started doing the videos just to say, here's what we have available to us and to you in this town. And it's a lot. We have a lot to offer. So if you want to find out anything about my town, you're going to find a video for me. We now have over 1,000 videos, and it's anything and everything, pros and cons to living here, what houses are like, neighborhood, anything you can think of. If somebody asks me a question, I'm going to go create a video because chances are somebody else is asking that question too.
So even from the owner side, or was that primarily from the tenant side at first?
It was both. It was
Both.
both. They
Okay.
wanted to know that it was, I mean, even if it's an investor coming in, they want to know what the town is like, why people are moving there. They want to know what businesses are there, what jobs are there, what houses, what kind of price range. All of those things are just as important. Crime, they definitely want to know about that. They want to know about the schools. It's just as important to them because how do you know where to invest if you don't have the information? And investors I've found really love information. So the more you can give them, the better.
Got it. And to date, has YouTube been your biggest source for lead generation?
It has definitely been by far YouTube. Of course, we have the other social media outlets, and sometimes piggybacking them has been great. So maybe doing a Facebook ad with a YouTube video in it, that also is wonderful. So you can kind of, do all of it at once, and there's definitely ways to make it a lot easier on yourself and your budget. But YouTube by far and away has been the biggest return on investment by far, absolutely out of park far.
The great thing about creating videos is it also gives you content that you can use on social media, right? So a lot of times people are like, well, what am I supposed to post? If you have a really detailed video going into a specific topic, you can break up that video into like five different smaller videos that you can then go and post on your social media channels. So that's
Exactly.
another added benefit of making those videos for sure. So let's shift gears a little bit back to the operational standpoint, I guess.
Okay.
At what pivotal points in your business did you find that there were certain big decisions that needed to be made? So, for example, you spoke earlier about how at 100 doors, you weren't ready to scale. Are there any other pivotal points in your business that you can think of along the way?
Honestly, I think becoming a member of NARPM, that changed. It was game changing for us. It really was. I do not get any money from them for anything for saying this, but I didn't realize what I was missing out on by working with other property managers and property managers from all over the country and realizing that they're having the same issues and maybe they're a little further ahead with their business and they can tell me, hey, you're about to hit this speed bump. Here's how you get over it. Here's some great software. So that was something that I definitely noticed. I didn't know the magnitude of how much software is out there for property managers and for investors and what it can do for you and how low cost it is. So that has been amazing. So I think that's really the changing point is I knew that we needed to change some of those organizational things, but I didn't really know how or what or when and all of that. So unfortunately, every time we come back from a NARPM convention or event, I come in with, three to five things, massive things that I want to change. And I've learned after the first convention that you don't do them all at once.
Yeah,
That's a bad plan.
yeah.
So we have to kind of, okay, for this year, here are the things that we want to change. Here's how we're going to get better. Here's how our clients are going to be treated better. And by the end of this year, those are the goals. So that's a much better approach.
Gotcha. Okay. And right now, what does your team look like? How many people are on your team? What are their roles? Can you take us a little bit through that?
Sure. It's kind of changing as we speak, actually, at the end of this month. So currently, we have six property managers. They all have varying sizes of portfolio. So they each do their own portfolio thing, and that has worked to get past just one property manager that has the whole thing and all the oversight and has assistants going to cutting it up so that everybody just can do what they can do. So if they want to do property management and sales, okay, they have 20 properties, 25 property, whatever, that works for them. That's great. If they want to do strictly property management, it's probably going to be closer to 100. So if they're able to do that, great. But now we're shifting our attention so that the tenants have a specific person, and the owners have a specific person, and taking the majority of that portfolio and splitting it up into the departments so that they can continue to grow because then we can just add people to that department. They don't have to learn the whole big massive thing that is property management. They just have to understand how to work with owners or how to work with tenants. And I think that's going to be a much, much better thing for growth over time. And with that being said, adding people as we need them, we should be able to take on 1,000 properties if we want to. So very exciting.
Awesome. Awesome. Is that something you learned from Another NARPA
Oh,
member? Yeah.
1000%. It was definitely NARPM. It was some other members that we just, sat and chatted with. I didn't even realize there was another way to do property management. And I had been doing it for well over a decade at that point, which is truly sad. But those in our area really don't get together and stuff. We actually had to go over to Orlando in order to be part of a group over there in order to get that information. So it was amazing, absolutely amazing.
Awesome. So, as you mentioned, you've been in property management for over a decade. Can you share with me a really crazy story that you might have during your time so far?
There are so many. There are so many stories over the years. Some of them are sad, they'll break your heart. Some of them are hilarious. Some just kind of make you cringe. So, if I had to think of one to share, I don't want to make anybody cry. So, I would probably say there's a story. I actually went out to a property. It was an investor from another state, and he had been trying to rent out his house. It was very under market. It was a brand new construction house. And he's like, can you please rent out this house? So it was actually another property manager that was working. She's the one that actually brought the property in. So I had not seen it. She went out of town. She's like, hey, any and all showings you can get while just do them. Please do them. I was like, okay, absolutely. So I had a showing, of course. I went out there to meet the tenant. Of course, I don't know the house, so I went ahead of time, and it was a beautiful house. I pulled up driveway. It is sparkling, gorgeous, amazing house. This was probably right around 2008, I guess, 2009. So I go inside and it was kind of dark, even though it was, beautiful house, tile flooring. It was gorgeous, but it was kind of dark in there. I was like, what in the world? So I went over and I opened the vertical blinds on the sliding glass door, and that's when I saw it, the cemetery. The backyard was only about 6 foot. It was very small for any kind of backyard here in Ocala, especially. And 6 feet away was the first gravestone. So it was awful. It was absolutely awful. So apparently this investor had this house built, or it was a spec home or whatever. The builder never told him of the situation, and now they could not get it rented to save their lives. I actually went and stood in the living room as if I was sitting on a couch watching TV to see if I could look over and read the gravestones, and I could very easily. They were very, very close. And
Yeah.
it was a huge cemetery, which also means there's visitors and stuff right there. I mean, it was awful. So I actually did end up renting it. The person came in and I was like, I have to let you know, by the way, and she was thrilled. I was like, you're gonna have very quiet neighbors. I mean, it was the only house on the block, obviously. And she said, oh no, I talk to dead people all the time. It'll be great. I'll always have company. And I was
Okay.
like, okay, here's the application.
There's always someone out there for every type of property, I suppose.
Absolutely. It kind of wigged me out mostly because I looked over in between the house and the cemetery, in that 6 foot was a well. Just ponder that for a moment. They taking a shower, what comes out goes down. No, I would not have been able to be there, but she was happy as can be, and I think she lived there for several years. So
Wow.
yeah, so that was probably one of the cringiest, funniest ones that I went to that I can't get that one out of my head.
Yeah, that's I definitely wouldn't want to live there, but hey, there's
Each
a
their
property
own.
for everybody. Some people don't mind cemeteries.
Yeah,
And I guess if she speaks to dead people all the time, then it's definitely
absolutely.
that's right for her. Uh, yeah. I've
So I
heard
would
ghost stories, but that's
Yeah,
taking
I would say that kind of also helps to prove the point that you should have, even if you don't have a realtor, at least somebody there. If you're going to buy sight unseen, somebody that's in your corner to at least check out the property. That is key. That is huge. So definitely highly recommend you look at the house beforehand. Yeah.
So, all right. So we'll get away from cemeteries, and let's shift back to property management in terms of your day to day now. So obviously, if I had to guess, it's much different than it was 6 years ago when you first started the business.
Mhm.
Um, what does a typical day look like for you now? Is it filming videos? Is it like
Um, it is very
things?
different. Very, very different. I've discovered how great networking can be, even though I'm absolutely terrible at it. But I have actually already been to two networking events today, and it is 11:30 in the morning.
Wow.
So yeah, first one was at 7:30. So going to those kind of events and meeting with community members and finding out, what's going on in the community not only helps give content to my channel, but it also makes connections and allows me to help the investors in the best way possible. Knowing what roads are coming in, what schools are coming in, what businesses are coming in helps me explain to them where to invest. So all of that is really important, very, very important. So that's finding out that information. Now, for me, I normally only record one day out of the week, but I record a lot during that day. So I will do a lot of recording, go out and do a lot of videos and stuff, and then I can go ahead and get those edited and then mini edited and created for those reels, those little tiny videos. So it just getting the raw footage first is helpful. So yeah, that's about it.
So we have networking, and then you have a day that's usually dedicated towards shooting videos for YouTube. And then other than that, is it kind of helping staff with some of the day-to-day issues that come up?
Yes, lots of phone calls, lots of meetings, meeting with staff. I think making sure we have a property management meeting every single Monday at 10 a.m. It is, if you want to be a property manager in any way in this company, you are going to meet because you learn most from the other property managers. So again, that NARPM, I got so much out of that. I wanted to bring that same thought and practice into our business as well. And it has been huge, absolutely huge, to make sure that we have that communication every single week without fail. So lots of meetings, lots of phone calls, and yeah, follow up. Lots of stuff throughout the week. Paperwork and loads of paperwork. And running a property management company, you're gonna have lots and lots of paperwork.
All the fun stuff you deal with as a business owner.
Hmm.
So obviously, property management is a cash flow type of business. Outside of property management, like how are you investing your cash flow? Is it back into real estate? Is it back into the business? What does that look like?
Absolutely. We actually own several houses, my husband and I. Currently, we're rehabbing one of them, and it's going from a 2-1 to a 4-3.
Okay.
So it's quite the undertaking. And we're not doing an addition. It was literally the square footage was there. It was just an incredibly bad layout.
Okay.
So completely redoing everything, jackhammers are involved. I mean, it's crazy. So that is coming to the tail end. But we were able to purchase that house for $60,000, and it actually had a new roof at the time. So of course it's had a lot of money poured into it, but it's still three times it's worth, at least right now, today, even not finished, three times what we bought it for, at least. So easily. So
$60,000 for a property from where I'm from in Montreal, where your average single family home goes for like 800,000 plus is insane. So that's another perk of Ocala and the Florida market too, where you can still find more affordable properties. I'm sure they're not all like what you found. I'm sure
yeah,
that's
not
yeah.
60,000 was a rare find, and definitely one that we, took definitely jumped on. At the time, it was just transitioning from the recession, and we saw, the light at the end of the tunnel, and we're like, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it now. And we were able to purchase several houses. We would like to have more, of course. So when we're done with this rehab, then we'll start working on that goal as well. But we wanted to get this rehab done. It was necessary, and so yeah, definitely putting it back into the business and putting it into houses, because that's what we plan on retiring from. I mean, it's fantastic. Right now, it's a great tax shelter as we're working. So just all things, great. And then if you do need liquid funds, you can easily sell one of the houses or one of the properties. So it's fairly liquid as well. So yeah, all told, pretty happy with investing in real estate.
You practice what you preach, right? So
Absolutely, you have to.
investors come to you, you can literally tell them like I'm doing exactly what it is I'm suggesting. So that always helps as
Absolutely.
well. So if you could go back in time to when you started your journey in property management, What is one thing that you would change to help yourself, let's say, succeed at a faster pace? Whatever your definition of success is. It doesn't have to be door count. It can be less stress, whatever that might be.
I would say if I could go back to talk to myself as I walked through the doors in 2007, knowing absolutely nothing, I barely knew what a roof was. I would go back and say, you need to join NARPM, and you also need to do that YouTube channel a lot more than what you're doing. I used to do it then too, but it was not the same. I used it as video storage essentially because it was the easiest way to send an investor a video of a house. And if you ever find those videos, because they're still up, they are hilarious. I would walk through and say everything that was wrong with the house because I didn't want the investor to ever think that I wasn't telling them the truth. So I would go in and tell them the opposite of what realtors would. They'd be like, oh, this house is wonderful, and there's like a roach waterfall, and it smells like cat pee. And no, I'd walk in going, it stinks really bad, but that means you're going to get a deal. It was it was awful.
Sure.
So probably more effort into YouTube earlier on and joining NARPM so that I knew I wasn't alone on those hard days.
Fair. And I imagine that would probably be your advice for any other property manager that's looking to start their own company.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time, Andrea. This is great. For anyone that wants to connect with you offline, what would be the best place for them to reach out?
So probably emailing me would be the best. So I do some traveling and stuff. So it's ger.expectmore@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Andrea.
Thank you.